2024. You're with the Irish NFL show's NFC North preview, and we're coming to the team that finished fourth in the division last year. But as Brian mentioned briefly when we were talking about the Vikings, another team that has huge hopes for the season ahead. And Noel, we're talking about a team that comes from a city that begins with a C, ends with an O, and has an Ickag in the middle. The Bears. With due apologies to any SNL fans for butchering that impression, but I don't know where you are since the heady days of the draft when Caleb Williams arrived and the claw was there, and the whole Roma Dunze pickup had everybody getting excited and looking at this receiver lineup that is now about to take the field in Chicago. But it could either take off very quickly or it could get very grim very, very easily. And I know a lot of Bears fans are already starting to feel a little bit uneasy about just how much optimism there is, because this is not a place that Bears fans are used to be.
No, it's not. But it's you just look at this roster now as a whole, and if you compare it to where it was when Ryan Poles and this new regime came in, it's night and day. They've revamped the wide receiver room. They've revamped the whole secondary to the point where both the secondary and wide receivers are legitimately considered up there within the NFL for their position groups. So from that alone, there's obviously going to be a bit of expectation that comes with the rookie quarterback who is going to have the hopes and dreams of every Chicago Bears fan on his shoulders. But the thing that gives me a lot of confidence about him is he seems to love that. He seems to be built with that. He has that kind of, and it's not even an arrogance, but it's a confidence in himself that, he's the quarterback to make that difference. But I think when you look at this team, while I don't want to discourage Bears fans from being excited, because what's the point in being involved in loving sport if you can't get excited? I think what they need to focus on is that you look at the way this rebuild has gone. Year 1, 3 wins, terrible, but it was torn down to the studs, and that was all part of the plan. Year 2, they get to 7 wins, could have potentially been 9. They have a couple of fourth quarter complete collapses, which is good, and it's progress. And for me, I think if you can get 9, 10 wins, I think you're looking at this team moving in the right direction. It's not going to be easy in this division, but when you look at this team now that they've built, there might be a bit of depth needed, but I think this starting roster can actually go out and win a lot of games. Now, it's not going to be easy, and you have to hope that the team can come together and kind of hit the ground running. For me, there's a big question mark in Matt Eberflus. As I say, first season, maybe things didn't go the way you wanted, but that was fair enough because of the way it was set up. Last season, it started really, really badly. They started 0-4. That was 14 defeats in a row. And I started to actually question, is this team worse than the previous year when they should be getting better? Now, the second half of the season, they stepped it up and they looked a lot better. But Matt Eberflus, for me now, is at a crossroads because I still don't really know what he is as a head coach.
But there was a lot of talk in the offseason, Noel, and it's easy. It's interesting that you mention it as well. The Bears were patting themselves on the back for overcoming adversity, and you were kind of scratching your head going, but this is adversity you created. You picked the wrong offensive coordinator. You picked the wrong defensive coordinator. You got things disastrously wrong. Now you're smiling and saying, "Oh, we have to overcome all this stuff." Like these were self-owns that you had to overcome.
Absolutely, and that's where the big question mark is for me this year. Now we talk about in terms of the quarterback, they've put a lot of weapons around.
And the other thing, sorry to cut across you, that I found very interesting was Luke Getsy walked straight into a job. Justin Fields wasn't rated as a starting quarterback by anyone else in the league, so the league made a real clear judgment on what was right and what was wrong in Chicago. And what was wrong, they're saying, is Matt Eberflus' faith in the quarterback, or that they feel that Luke Getsy was the right guy in the wrong place.
Yeah, no, look, and we'll find out next season if that's kind of the way it pans out. Although personally, I don't think Getsy's going to be. I don't think he's going to be doing too well. But again, we'll see. Maybe a different situation. But yeah, look, this team has been built well. They've put a lot of parts in there now, and they've given the quarterback the chance to develop well and to kind of hit the ground running, hopefully. And they've given the head coach the tools, to win games. And now it's just up to the head coach and these players to go out there and do what needs to be done.
Brian, Noel mentioned that you could still see the Bears win a bunch of games this year, and there's a lot of optimism, and people shouldn't get off that. But there's a huge amount of pressure as well, too, isn't there? Because you can come into a season with a rookie quarterback here, with maybe a roster that isn't as stacked on offense as the Bears are, with Keenan Allen, with DJ Moore, with what's expected of Roma Dunze coming in, and with the moves that they've made in the backfield too. And you can get to 5 or 6 wins, and in another place with a rookie quarterback, people might go, well, that's progress. It's something to build on. Yeah, he threw a lot of picks, but he'll get better, and we saw enough to build on. If you don't come away with 7 wins next year, a lot of people are going to be going, well, is he really the guy?
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest talking point for me going into the season, I don't think we should really question the roster in which the Bears have put together. I think gradually over the course of the 2 years, Ryan Pauls has done a fantastic job. He's navigated trades very well. He's obviously put themselves in a very strong position. I think ultimately it will come down to the quarterback and not necessarily the confidence piece. Like no touch on there, he seems to be taking it all on his shoulders, and that's fantastic. Now in June, it's come September when you've got Jeffrey Simmons already on the Rich Eisen show this week saying, "What are you looking forward to most?" And he goes, "Oh, week one, I'm going after the number one pick in the draft." And not that he's going to be a marked man, but there will be teams that would aspire to go after him and lay a marker down on him. And it's for me, it's how he reacts to those types of scenarios. How does he react in week one if he has a difficult start to the game? If there's an interception, or not necessarily week one, but this is where you need good, strong coaching to come in, and this is where you will need Eberflus, or your offensive coordinator to put the arm around the shoulder and say, look, patience is a key here, because they are stacked. And I think I do like what the Bears have done in the roster, because I think they've recognised as well we need to get experienced players in around them who will help the quarterback develop. But it's a bit, for me, it's quite similar in a way to the Vikings. Like, where's the level of expectation? What satisfies the Bears fans' needs next year? Because for me, they look like a team like the Lions a couple of years ago. We knew they were building something nice. They knew they were going in the right direction. That seems to be where the Bears are. I think there's most fans in the league would love to be in the Bears position. But no, I touched on it earlier on, and he did a fantastic podcast this week on Take the North. What does Bears fans want from the season? Because ultimately, is it about the development of the quarterback and winning 7 or 8 games, or is we make a playoff push, but that doesn't necessarily mean 2 or 3 years down the line we're going to be still really fruitful and challenging within the division. It's a huge season for the Bears. It's in particular the head coach.
Shane, I'll tell you what Bears fans want. They want CJ Stroud Mark II. Like that realistically is where expectations are set, right? Seriously, it's like, well, we saw what CJ Stroud did last year. Rookie quarterback, rookie head coach, rookie offensive coordinator, playoff win. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen very often, but it happens to have happened last season. And that's where people are looking.
Yeah, and even when I hear all the discourse from Bears fans about the Chicago's chances, I have to wonder that during the great Irish migration, whether Chicago took up a lot of Kerryman, because there's a lot of Yera going around. Oh, Yera, our coach probably isn't as good as he should be. Yera, I'm not sure about our quarterback, whether he's taking too much on his shoulders. Yera, whatever. Why can't the Bears win this division? Tell me honestly why they can't do it. If 11 wins is good enough to win a division, in a similar way that the 11 wins was enough to win the AFC East, there was a bit of a tiebreaker there between the Bills and the Dolphins. Why can't the Bears put together what they have here now and actually make a push?
I love that you're comparing the Bears to Kerry, Shane. Like we're more like Cavan. Like it's a long time since we've won in All Ireland or been any good.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, maybe Kerry hurlers then. I don't know. But I think the point still stands that I think the Bears are in a better position than they probably give themselves credit for. And I understand the lived experience of so many of these great quarterbacks come in, Mr. Trubisky, Justin Fields, and all the rest. And I understand why the fear, based on all those scars, I mean, you see this new setup coming in to say, oh, God, well, there's no reason to believe that this is going to be any difference. But I think there are a few reasons to believe, certainly in comparison to the Justin Fields situation, and things will be different. Firstly, Justin Fields became a one-man highlight reel during his first couple of seasons because he had to be. There was nobody protecting him, so he had to do all that kind of running around. I'm not quite sure he had a great core of receivers to throw to. That situation is much better now, both in the offensive line and receivers. Secondly, Chicago is a big city. It's the biggest one-team market in America. That's exactly where Caleb Williams wants to be. He loves the limelight. He loves being in it. You saw when he moved to USC how he embraced that life, and it's very different to Justin Fields from when he came out of his situation, which you have to remember that was COVID impacted his development there as well. To then come into, just as things are opening up, being the great white hope of a team which really didn't have its act together. The Bears have its act together more now. And just some form of confidence has to come into this. And it's mad to think that we were sitting here last October talking about the Bears versus the Broncos at the toilet bowl. But well, I can't remember what week that was. I think the Bears ended up winning. I can't remember exactly. But as all
No,
the
they did not.
lose.
They copped
No,
it.
they did not,
They lost
Shane.
off.
They collapsed in the fourth quarter. Yeah.
One of the orange teams that are started to be, but that's how bad the season started. But they built it up to go to finish up at 7-10. So there is the bottom marker. You need to find 4 more wins on top of that. And I think in a division where people are going to be taking scalps off each other, I think Caleb Williams will have a bit more freedom to develop and will develop quicker. Is he going to be CJ Stroud level? We'll see once we get there. But I don't think I really think there's a strong possibility that he can be as sensational on a team that really gets his act together. It's the defensive side of the ball I'm more worried about than what the quarterback do and what the offensive line do and what Roma Dunze and everyone who is a great draft pick, by the way, and everybody else does in terms of how the Bears can run up a score.
You raise an interesting point there, Shane, because the Bears defense got a lot of flowers towards the end of last season, but there's 2 things for me. One, that a lot of what they did defensively relied on turnovers and interceptions in particular, which are a very, very volatile stat and can often fall off dramatically from one season to another. And the other thing is they beat up on a lot of teams that were headed in the wrong direction towards the back end of the season and padded their stats. I'll believe it when I see it consistently over the course of a season against good teams that have things to play for.
I think there's a very good chance of that. And not only that, I think that the fact that the Bears are playing in London really gives them a chance to get a stamp win, get a kind of a team building, I guess, aura around having to go over to Tottenham and play against the Jags and then build into the season afterwards. We saw how a trip to London can really, or a trip to Europe can really set your season up for positive or negatively. I think we saw the Ravens come off a very bad performance against the Steelers to come into London, get the job done against the Titans, and kind of build nicely into the season last year. The Jaguars, the last couple of years, whenever they come to London, they play there. A shaky start. They have their nice little retreat in the UK. They come back and have a stronger tail end of the year. There's nothing to me saying that the Bears, if they get a win over the Jags, in a part of the world where the Jags are feeling very comfortable against the quarterback that's after getting paid, against a team that will be really pushing for the playoffs, which the Jaguars will be. I think there's a very good chance that the Bears can build momentum. Can they make the playoffs? Yes. Can they win the Super Bowl this year? I don't think so. But I really think there are more reasons to be hopeful for this Bears group than the Vikings or a few or even other teams previously that we've seen take on quarterbacks in the top rounds. I certainly am much more hopeful for the Bears than I am for the Patriots, let me tell you that.
Well, we look forward greatly to that Jags-Bears game at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We will be there, as we will indeed for all of the London games and the Munich game next season, which is coming up quicker than you think. It's only a couple of months away now. That is our NFC North preview. You can check out the other divisional previews in the bank on whatever podcast platform you prefer. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Irish NFL Show while you're there. Thanks very much for listening.